Hey, welcome back to New Truth Media. Nicholas J. Fuentes. Why is he still on Twitter, on all the platforms, obviously on YouTube, and most importantly, not even demonetized? That to me is crazy. There are lists of people that have at the very least been demonetized for nothing, a joke. And this guy is, in short, building a small army of followers who are perhaps not full-blown racists in terms of having hatred for other ethnicities. That's not his brand of racism. He thinks he's being clever. He's your typical kind of young. Was he like 21? He's young. He's obviously quite well read, intelligent, and very cocky and slightly smarmy. And it's almost like he thinks he's found like a loophole. Most of his ideas are just, well, what's his channel called? America First. So they're sort of conservative, sort of Trumpyism, although, whatever Trump's doing isn't enough. And he's wildly anti-Semitic, and is very keen on protecting the white race, the white Christian Catholic race, to be specific. And he is concerned that mass immigration is going to kind of water down the population of white people and that particular culture. And it's a real shame, because what he's doing by trying to just find a niche in the marketplace, to fit in amongst all these other hundreds of right-wing new media outlets. In doing that, he's confirming exactly what people's worst beliefs of conservatives. That when they think people are conservatives, or anyone who believes in immigration, some form of immigration, some people instantly believe that they are thinking like Nick Fuentes. They think that those people are concerned about losing their white identity, and that's the sole purpose for why they want tougher immigration laws, etc., which is really bad. And also he's using this I don't want to call it clever, but he's using this particular phraseology. That's not a word. This particular vernacular, to justify his opinions. So the people watching it, I mean, for research, I watched quite a few, and not that I agreed with what he was saying, because I'm a much deeper thinker than that. And so but as you're listening along, you the way he's justifying it all, you can see how a lot of people just get kind of like, oh yeah, and they kind of agree with that. And that is terrifying, and is exactly what these people that are for censorship are worried about. And they're always talking about the rise of the far right and white supremacy and all of this. and they go ahead and they censor and demonetize and ban, in a lot of cases, a lot of people. Some people, incidentally, who I'd like to mention the names of, but can't because probably the video would get banned, but people who do not hold anywhere close to views like that. And some of them have had their lives absolutely ruined. And they've been labeled, they've been demonized, dehumanized, for not even coming close to what this guy's promoting. And yet there he is. He's on every platform. He's on YouTube, and he even talks about it, the checks he's getting from YouTube. Now, I'm not. This isn't some. I'm not doing some call to censorship. I'm not requesting that he be banned immediately. Far from it. I think that's a terrible way of going about things. But it does beg the question as to why he's still there making presumably quite good money. And as he's actually growing a small army of certainly anti-Semites and possible sort of white, well, just something not good, basically, and tarnishing the idea of conservatism, or reaffirming, as I just said, reaffirming ideas that a lot of people have incorrectly of conservatives, or anybody who believes that there should be immigration of varying degrees. And on the flip side, you've got a name that I can mention, Stephen Crowder, who is very funny, very intelligent, very mild-mannered, clearly nice, funny guy. Some of the jokes might be close to the bone for some people. I think they're incredibly tame and mild. But not only that, his show is factual. It gets across his point very well. He cites and sources, and it's high production value. It's a good show, and that has been certainly demonetized. It's been shadow banned for years before, and now I think he's going to court and everything. And so it just begs the question, there's something a bit sinister going on here, because why, if you're in this age of censorship, why are you allowing somebody to basically recruit and normalize and justify these ideas that aren't acceptable? They're not acceptable. And without those ideas, he would be a very effective communicator for conservative values. And previously, I've thought that the reason a lot of these people, particularly conservative voices, have been banned is because they're effective. A lot of the ones that have been banned outright and certainly demonetized, but are ones that are very effective communicators who make points that are quite difficult to argue with. So whether that's the case or not, I think censorship is a terrible idea. And the one thing that has been floated, and the reason I did this video, is there's very little about this on YouTube or just generally if you search. And one of the things, one of the suggestions, I think, is that Ben Shapiro should debate him, and I haven't read up on that, so apologies for that. But I think he's not up for doing that, or it certainly hasn't happened yet. Which is I don't understand why not. If not him, somebody else. maybe for someone like Ben Shapiro, who is he's like Orthodox Jew, isn't he? Maybe he'd find it just too offensive to be in a room with him. So that's I've probably answered my own question there. But somebody could debate him. If nobody wants to debate him, I will happily debate him, because that is how you win these arguments. You don't do censorship. I think the tool of demonetization, if you're going to do it to anyone, you do it to a guy like him, because he shouldn't be profiting from doing this. And other people who have been demonetized should definitely be profiting from just creating good content that regardless if some people disagree with it, there's a load of people that really enjoy the content, and isn't that the whole point of the platform? And so if they're creating good content, it's good for YouTube in this case, and therefore it's going to be good for advertising revenue, and it's good for everybody. So that's always baffled me anyway, because whether you disagree with it or not, it's a kind of anti-business idea in the first place. But getting back to the debating point, is there was a thing that happened in the UK several years ago, where there was a big rise in white nationalism, and there was a party called the BNP, British National Party, and that was gaining momentum. It was kind of around the whole time with the Rotherham gangs and etc. It was gaining in popularity, and what the BBC did is decided to give him a platform, which people say, why do you give a platform? Well, back then, the idea of giving someone a platform was, wasn't quite the thing it is now. But nonetheless, people said, well, why give this horrible person a platform? And BBC were brilliant, actually, and they stood fast against a barrage of complaints and criticism, to have them on this show called Question Time, which is a political panel show that usually has a mixture of politicians from either side of the aisle, and then maybe an author, an intellectual of some sort, and you get the idea, and then audience participation. They ask questions, etc. So they allowed this guy, the leader of this party, Nick Griffin, on there, and there were protests outside. It was a huge deal, but it's an hour-long show, and within an hour, when they debated him and let him say his piece, it just exposed him for the horrible, bigot, nasty piece of work that he was, and it destroyed him and his party within that hour. And overnight it was done. It disbanded. People left the party. It was gone. It just destroyed it overnight. And that's the power of freedom of speech. So all this banning, this censorship is such a terrible idea, and it's another big reason why I started this channel. And I always think the power of the freedom of speech is how you always win the day. And in this case, this should be the same thing. So somebody out there should take this guy on and debate him and show him up, because what needs to happen is the same thing. Is his very rapidly growing legion of followers need to see him, his ideas challenged from another perspective in a rational way, so that they have the opportunity to rationalize and do the same and make their own minds up. Some of them will stick with him, and a lot of them, I would hope, would realize that his brand, if you can call it that, of conservatism is unnecessary. You can be a conservative and be into immigration policy without being racist and an anti-Semite and blaming everything on Israel. So why Stephen Crowder is having to sue YouTube for having a comedy show because he made a joke. I think, I don't know the full story. He made a joke and upset someone at Vox, I think it was. And so one person at Vox can say, oh, I'm offended by a joke, and it's kind of ruined. He's had to rethink his whole business model and go through all this now. Whereas there's a guy that's literally recruiting anti-Semites and white nationalists, who's getting a check from YouTube every month. That one of the things I saw even bragged about. It was a November one, and he was saying, oh well, I've got to get these in so I get my November check in time for Christmas to do Christmas shopping. So he's clearly getting a substantial amount of money from YouTube for doing this, and all these censorship people who you'd think would be outraged by it are doing nothing. So what's going on there? What is going on? I want to know what's going on. If no one else wants to debate him, I will. So if you agree with me, and if you like what I'm saying, as I've said in my other videos that not very many people have watched, so please give it a like, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, because I'm planning to do better content and daily content where I'm going to comment on a particular news thing and break it down, and I've started working on that and I'm editing those, so there's loads of content to come. So please subscribe. Please give this a thumbs up if you like the idea. Obviously comment, suggest me, put me forward to debate the guy. Nick, if you're watching, I want to debate you. I want to ask you what your game is. But otherwise, somebody in America is probably more suitable, and definitely on the conservative side of things, so that they can prove that not all conservatives are like that guy, which sadly is the perception for a lot of people on the left, I think. So yeah, once again, please like it, subscribe, comment, and see you in the next one. Peace.